It's on vinyl and vision.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to our latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. I am your host, Jimmy Drab. Welcome. Tonight's very special guest is Thalia Zedek. So Thalia is a wonderful person and a amazing musician who has been performing since the early 80s. I'm not going to go into too many details right here, right now, about what we have discussed in our show, because that's why you're here. Just listen to the show, and you'll find out all about it. But the album that she chose was The Birthday Party's Junkyard, which is an amazing record. I am so happy that she chose it, because it just gave me the opportunity to really dive into it, and it was a really great experience to kind of really flesh that record out, because I have not been, I have not been really into that record like when I first heard about it. So, so listen, for those listening to the audio stream, I've decided to play the song William off of Cum's 1111 album, their debut record. Thalia has so much music that's out in the world. It's a little bit difficult, and it seems unfair to play one song to, have you guys listen to, and so you kind of give you a little reference of what kind of music that she makes. But I in the interest of the topic of influences and the influence of music on a person or a musician, I've found that to probably have one of the closest ties. Particularly, in our talk, Thalia actually tells me about the influence of Roland S. Howard in particular from the Birthday Party, his guitar playing, how that influenced her and kind of really gave her some kind of inspiration into, tones and kind of playing styles and stuff like that. So I was listening particularly close to the music to try to hear where that is, and so this is one example of that, and so that's why I'm playing this one song. To be fair, I mean, Thalia has so much music. She has so many different projects between, the earlier bands that came before Cum, like, Uzi and Live Skull are the ones that usually get brought up the most, to newer projects such as E, which is that kind of power trio from Boston, which is on a more hard rock and experimental noise rock side, and TK, which is actually a very avant-garde noise music in the realm of like improvisational noise. It's pretty dissonant stuff. So there's no one close thing, I think, right? But that's okay, because influences come from everywhere, and there's and artists will always have more than one influence. Okay, so I mean, this show isn't trying to be definitive in that regard, but I just wanted to try to tie that a little closer, just so you can kind of see. If you're watching the video at the end of the show, I've actually incorporated a little bit of my own music, only because, I can't use any of Thalia's music for the video, so I figured, just as a little outro type thing, I'll throw in this song I wrote a very long time ago. No big deal. You probably won't even hear it. Let's get right down to it. I ask you folks all the time to do all the things you do with the internet, and that remains true. Please do all those things. For everyone that has done some of those things or any of those things, I appreciate it, and we thank you very much. I have one more ask, actually. So, in the sake of this show, I was able to reach out to Thalia through my previous guest, Dan Boucher. I kind of asked him if he had someone in mind that he might be able to recommend to me that I can reach out to, and Thalia's name came up, and so I thank Dan very much for his help and his support, and providing me a little contact to reach out to her. and making it happen, basically. So I kind of am asking all of the listeners to do the same. Reach out to me on social media, Instagram or Facebook, or go to my website, psychicstatic.net. There's a comments page. Go to the comments or the contact information on the website. Go there and send me a name. Send me somebody that you would like to see me speak with on the show. Someone that you would like to have to see on this show talk about one of their most influential records on them. Okay? Because I think that the more requests I get for a person, the better chances I have to reach out to them. And plus, I also don't know everything about music. So if you know of people that I should speak with about this topic that you think would be interesting, then shoot them over to me, and I will gladly reach out to them and ask them. So, yes, this can become your show. This can become whatever you want it to be. So, yes, please do that. I'd appreciate it very much. Appreciate your help. And enjoy the show. You know?
Yeah, I've been out of town, and I got back last night, and so I was just re-listening to Junkyard, and couldn't stop listening to it, and so I was like, God, I gotta go. Like, yeah, I still got my
Oh, nice.
my vinyl copy, yeah, and I was
cool.
Yes, I definitely made the right decision in choosing this record.
Yeah, why do you say that?
It's such an amazing record. I mean, just listening to it again, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. What does it do to you when you listen to it?
It just blows my mind completely. It just sounds like unlike anything else. Like the production, the textures, just all the shit going on in the background. It's like totally 3D. You know, and it's just I think it's an amazing record. I think it's like Captain Beefheart was to the people in the 60s or 70s or something. I mean, that's what Birthday Party was to me, and this record in particular, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like just listening to it, it came out in '82 or something, and listening to it now.
82,
like,
yeah.
God, how many years ago was that? Like
19? No. I'm sorry. Wait, I'm an idiot. Because my birthday, I was born in '80, so 38 years.
Damn, I mean,
39.
It's still like incredible to me. I mean, it's just absolutely mind blowing. It's an amazing record. I can't believe that they made it like such an amazing record so young, and there's like so many different things, like different layers of stuff going on there, and none of it is like sort of like typical. And like almost all of it is completely groundbreaking. Like how Nick is singing, like the lyrics, you know, the drums and the different instrumentation and stuff. So anyway,
I hear you.
Had you listened to this record before? And
I've tried to listen to the Birthday Party on a few occasions ever since I've heard about them. I think basically everybody I know has been influenced them to some degree. Like you know, I'm a big fan of noise rock music, and I live in Providence, or I've been living in Providence as a young person, and so I met all the noise rock people, and all those people would always swear by this band, and so I've tried it out on a couple of occasions, and for the most part, I never got it. So I was like, I've listened to songs, like I'm not sure off which records, like just kind of like, you know, when downloading music was illegal and running rampant.
right,
I downloaded a bunch of songs, so I didn't know what records they were on. I was just like, okay, I just want to hear it, so let me listen to it. And I don't know, a few things turned me off. Like, I guess the production quality turned me off because it was just so weird and abrasive. Like, it was just hard to listen to, you know?
yeah,
And then like the record cover for this record specifically turned me off because like the Ed Roth art, the whole Rat Fink thing, like
yeah,
it like evoked something in me that was reminiscent of like greaser culture,
yeah,
you know. And I was just like, this band's not a greaser band, like, you know. And like, why do all my friends that like noise rock music like this band if they're like some greaser band,
right,
you know?
Yeah.
I was just like, so it just kind of put like, I don't know, put me in the wrong position coming into it. But
But I thank you for wanting to listen to choose this record, because now it's given me the opportunity to really sit down with it again, and just this record in its entirety. And yeah, and it's pretty mind blowing. Thinking about the history, thinking about this happening in '82, thinking about how they were pretty young. I'm pretty sure none of them were over 21 by this point.
Yeah. I don't know how
Um,
they were, but they were definitely very young. Yeah,
yeah,
say like
yeah,
in their, yeah, maybe 23, 24. Um,
maybe. Yeah, I didn't see anything that gave their age, but they were certainly very young people, and for being that young, yeah, making some music like this is just it's mind blowing how some people come up with this stuff.
it's
You
so
know?
original. I mean, there's absolutely zero template.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's
Hey.
funny 'cause I belong to this group, sort of like this is just social media. Someone invited me, and it's a no wave thing, and I was like, oh, I'll do that. And then for some reason, someone mentioned this record. This was after I told you I wanted to do this record, so and they did a link to something, and I looked at it, and it said a little bit more about this record, and actually about the dichotomy between the cover and
The music.
the band. Like, yeah, a couple people mentioned that. To me, I never thought about that much. It was weird because I had first heard of them on their previous record. They put this record out called Prayers on Fire, and
Yep.
I bought it just completely based on the cover art. Um,
Okay.
and it's a really crazy record. I bought that at the same time as I bought Gun Club's Fire of Love, and I didn't know anything about either of those bands and was totally blown away. But Birthday Party was a little bit too weird for me. Not too weird, like I really liked it, but I didn't understand it. So,
Hmm.
and it was even more kind of like jazzy in a way, just like sort of like a lot of brass instruments coming in and out, and just like sort of weird rhythms and rhythm changes. But when
Hmm.
I was listening to this, I was like thinking like the drums are total like this total jazz thing going on, sort of
Right.
like the way the drummer's playing.
Huh.
And yeah,
And how old were you when you purchased these records?
I was probably like probably like 21.
Oh yeah. And was this in '82 when it came out?
Yeah, yeah, I was
Okay.
born in 61, so yeah, I was like 21. Yeah.
Cool.
And I got Junkyard. I was actually working in a record store when this came out, and they used to let us borrow records, and so I had when especially when new like stuff came in, we were allowed to like take it home, and it was a really cool record store. Newbury
That's cool.
Comics. It turned into this big sort of conglomerate a little bit, but this was when I worked at the second store that that opened in Harvard Square, and got paid very little, so that was one of the perks. So we used to take this home and comics. So I used to take comics home too. I was really into that
Yeah.
too. But um yeah, so I took it home, and I think I ended up like buying it. I used to play it in the store all the time, and people were just like, because I could play whatever I wanted in the store, and like this was on a lot in
Yeah.
like too. But yeah, so I that's when I first heard it. I already knew of them like because I had bought Prayers on Fire before I worked in the record store, and I was like, oh, this band's really cool. I wonder what their new thing is like, and yeah.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
But then
Cool.
they've gotten more popular. When I bought Prayers on Fire, it was just kind of like an import, and I liked the cover, and you know what I mean. It looked interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they had some lyrics on it. I immediately kind of like liked. I had been really into Patti Smith, so I really liked this sort of poetry and
Rock music.
music blend,
Yeah.
so I was interested in people who had interesting lyrics, but
Hmm. Yeah. This is weird. Because we're jumping right into this, which is kind of cool. Obviously, I usually get into your background a little bit, but we're kind of starting off at where you first heard this record. Um, So you already knew the band a little bit. You knew the record that came out before this, and so the first time you heard this record was in Newbury Comics where you were working.
Yeah, I can't remember if I heard it on the record, on the radio before that, but yeah, I would say that I probably saw it come in and took it home with me.
Okay.
I probably wasn't in the store when I heard it. I probably listened to it at home first.
Yeah. All right. Do you remember that night? Do you remember like what that was like for you?
I don't remember that particular night, but I remember the apartment I lived in, and that this I would listen to this record like all the time and just kind of like freak out. It would just be like,
Yeah. So
yeah.
you didn't. Now you bought this with the Gun Club, and you weren't a fan of them either. You didn't really know them. So what were you listening to at the time that you found these records?
I was just listening to a lot of college radio. There was a really good college radio in Boston, and I didn't have much money, so I think I didn't like buy records that much. I
Yeah.
would like kind of listen to the radio a lot,
Yeah.
college radio a lot, and yeah.
And college radio wasn't so bad then.
No, it was good. I mean, different stations, yeah, specialize with in different things, but yeah, I remember discovering Dream Syndicate, and like then there was a local record store down the street. And record stores were big then, kind of like hangout places, and they would
Hmm.
play records, and they would let you play records. So there was a record store literally around the corner from me, called Inner Ear, and that's how you would. That's where you would put up your posters for bandmates looking into this, into that, and
Hmm.
you'd hang out with the record store guys, and every once in a while you'd have money to buy records, but usually not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of like that. Like I guess you used to buy vinyl a lot when you were around that time, right?
There was no CD. That was just pre-CD.
Right. So no cassettes, mostly just vinyl, right?
Um, yeah, there were cassettes, but only major labels for the most part did cassettes. Like I remember the Roar cassettes. I don't know if you're familiar with that label. It's ROIR that they did like a television live thing. They would do
Oh
like
yeah. Okay.
with New York bands live. So there were some cassettes, but mostly cassettes were just like the only bands that had those were like super like poppy major label bands.
You're right. Oh, okay. Huh. Interesting. All right. Cool. So I mean, do you have a large vinyl collection, or have you kind of gotten rid of most of it at this point?
Nope, I've got a pretty large one. Not like crazy large, but
Yeah.
large. I'm not a collector, but
You've
you
just
know,
been collecting for all throughout your life.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
cool.
And now
So
I'm more into older stuff and like sort of like court music of Japan, and like I'm really into like other types of music that's not rock and roll. Like I don't do like, so I'm more apt to pick up something interesting that's was done in a different country than I am to to do like what's the newest rock band, like
right. Yeah. No, I don't. I can understand that. Yeah. Especially with some of the music that you've been doing, you're kind of like exploring a lot more of an experimental sound type thing. I'm thinking about TK particularly right now when I say that,
yeah.
which I got your cassette from Dan, the this one,
Oh, cool.
and then I bought the new one. What was that? Sunday, is it?
Sunday Last, yeah.
Someday Last, yes. I missed the cassette release for that. By the time I got to the computer, they were already sold out.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, well, I think it was a really limited run. I think he said he was putting out like 40.
Yeah, he's gonna make them because, you know, I don't
Yeah,
know, the production stuff's been interrupted by the pandemic, and different
yeah.
supplies. But yeah,
That's cool though. A
I didn't know it
limited.
was sold out. That's crazy. I don't have a copy either. I wonder if he saved us any.
I'm sure he probably can muster up one or two at least. But I purchased the digital copy because I wanted to listen to it to prepare to speak with you. I've listened to just about everything you've released, almost everything you've released up till today.
Yeah,
I listened to
that's a
I
lot
think
of stuff.
yeah it is. It was I tonight fucked me up. I've just been on overload with this Junkyard record, and then like all of your records, the Thalia Zedek band records, a couple of your solo records, the E band records.
Yeah,
I've listened to all those because those are great too. I actually really like that style of music. particularly, because you're getting back into the rock thing for with E. You were saying, right?
Yeah, yeah. These things more like, well, it's rock, but kind of like a little bit noisy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like the TZ band stuff is a little bit more traditional, songs
Sing,
structure. And with
singer-songwriter stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and with E, it's like definitely a collaborative thing, and we just kind of go wherever it takes us. So
Yeah, yeah, and I like it. I like what you've been doing. It's great.
great, thank
Um,
you.
I also have been listening to the whole back catalog of Come, and there's only one release I have from Come, which is this.
Oh wow,
Yeah, I found this like years ago actually,
oh wow,
and I was like I'm a fairly young person. Like in the '90s, I was a teenager, and I wasn't really going out to shows a lot, but I was always checking the bills for Providence downtown, and I remember specifically seeing Come playing at the Met Cafe.
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember who was on the bill. I didn't go to the show because
It's with Harvey Milk, maybe. Harvey Milk and
yeah,
Railroad Jerk, maybe, or something like
that
that.
sounds right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Railroad Jerk sounds very familiar. But there was all these bands that were coming around at that time that I never got to see, but I was always seeing the names. I was just like, oh, I want to go to this show. It's like it sounds like it looks like it's going to be cool, you know.
Yeah.
So I unfortunately missed all of those things that you did back then. So I've been doing a lot of research about you. I've been reading a lot of interviews and stuff like that I found online. What is there that you haven't already discussed in all of these interviews that you've had?
Um,
No.
well, probably my love for birthday party.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of why I wanted to get into this. I learned that you grew up, you were born in Washington, D.C., right?
Yeah, I was born in D.C.
So when did you move to Boston?
I moved to Boston in '79,
Okay.
and briefly attended Boston University, like super briefly, and then kind of got into the music. I was already doing music in DC. No bands that ever played out, but like it's crazy because I remember recording with Don Zantera in high school when that's the guy that did all the Fugazi and Minor Threat stuff and
Oh,
all the Discord stuff. And
right.
so there was a pretty cool label in DC at the time, and I was pretty into punk. But anyway, I moved to Boston. I went to school for a little bit, and for like a semester, and then I ended up like I got in bands pretty much right away, and I did all
Mm,
right in school, but never um, was never super sold on it, and just decided I wanted to do music.
yeah.
So I did that, and I've been more or less in Boston ever since. Like I lived in New York for a while, and I was in a New York band called Live Skull that was doing a lot of stuff in the '80s,
Yeah.
and yeah.
I listened to a couple of those records too today.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I tried to cover all my bases.
Wow.
So what was like the first instrument you learned playing?
I
You learned to play, I should say.
the first instrument was probably a recorder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
At how old?
probably like at like 9 or 10.
Okay. Be-
Yeah,
because you had to, not because you really wanted
yeah. I
to.
was like living in England at the time, and my teacher there was the music teacher for the whole school, and I guess I needed something to do. Like you were just given a recorder because it's a simple little instrument,
Right.
and taught to play it, and but I was really into it,
Oh,
and
okay.
and then in that class, I remember like an older student came by, Eleanor, and she came by with a clarinet, and she had been playing clarinet, and so it was kind of like a show and tell thing. So she played clarinet, and I kind of like fell in love with the clarinet. So then I kind of like bugged my parents when we moved back to like the DC area, Silver Spring area, and I bugged them to like let me take clarinet lessons.
Hmm.
And so then I was in band with clarinet like all through junior high school and high school. Um,
Okay.
Not a great clarinet player, but I do play a little bit in Live Skull and Come. I don't know if you've heard any of those. It pops up,
Yeah.
here and there, and in TK it definitely pops up. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've heard it. I've been like I don't know how well it's kind of clicked with me, but I'm sure
yeah.
I've heard it. Yeah. Well, so then when did you get into guitar?
Probably like when I was about, I'm gonna guess like 13 or 14, I started getting into it. I tried to get bands together with clarinet. Like I had some friends that played drum. I just kind of realized that like clarinet was not a rock and roll instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Though I did see Patti Smith wail on a clarinet in the late
Oh
'70s,
yeah.
and I was like, I play clarinet. Remember, I met her backstage. I met her after the show. I said, I play clarinet too. And she was just kind of like, that's nice, but no, she was kind of like, um, but so my friend up the street, Pat Marin, played guitar, and her brother was in bands and played bass, and so I kind of learned on her guitar, and we used to write songs together. And then, I was really into, it's easy. Like you could buy songbooks and learn songs on guitar,
Yeah.
and I took a few lessons. When I was in high school and stuff, and when I first joined a band, I was actually in Boston. I was actually joined as a drummer, and I thought I might become a drummer because I was really into drums. And I went to keep a friend company on an audition, and they didn't have a drummer, and so I just like sat in on the drums. They're like, "Oh, cool! You guys are both in the band if you want to." So I joined as a drummer, and I still to this day really like drums, but for some reason I realized, yeah, this isn't really what I want to. The instrument I want to play. I want to be more involved. I think my mind works more melodically and stuff. So
Yeah.
so that I became a guitar player, and one of the other band members moved to drums, and yeah, and then eventually through default, I ended up singing in that band,
Yeah.
and so yeah.
Was this Dangerous Birds? Was that the name of
No,
it?
it was Three Dangerous Birds. It was this band called White Women.
White Women. Okay, right. I've heard. I did read about that.
Yeah.
And so Dangerous Birds came after that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool. Right. Yeah. So that's what I learned doing some of the research about this record is that they added blast off. They added. They took out 6-inch gold blade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then they added a second version of Dead Joe and released the Bats. And it depends. Like it depends on which like CD release you had or something.
Right. That was like from that. They used to be called the Boys Next Door. I think Release the Bats and Blast
Mhm.
Off from the Boys Next Door before they changed their name to the Birthday Party.
Yeah, yeah, that
That was
name. Good thing they changed the name.
6-inch gold blade, and it's funny because my bass player in TZ band, Winston Bremen, he plays that bass line a lot. Like it sounds like dong dong dong.
Yeah, dude, the bass on this record is amazing. I'm a bass player, and like, it helped me realize that I think the the bass sound alone has probably inspired most of the people that create noise rock today.
God, that bass player Tracy Pugh he was just amazing. Like
Yeah,
wings, you know, down.
yeah, and it was so like tinny and just like you can like hear the pick scratching across the strings.
Yeah,
It's just so like I think you were saying it was like 3-dimensional, and then I think that's part of it. It's just like you can really feel the music the way that they recorded it.
yeah,
So I've developed a new appreciation for it.
yeah.
So yeah, let's just start off with "She's Hit" because that's the first track off the original release. So, I was just listening to that, and I heard two guitars. I didn't realize I
Yeah.
forget that they had two for the recordings.
Yeah, like Big Harvey, he was kind of an all-around player.
Hmm.
Played a lot. He continued with Nick Cave into the Bad Seeds and did a lot of stuff. But and he wrote a lot of the music. And so I was just looking at my liner notes for that record, and he plays the fuzzed out guitar. But like I've used that so many times, just like that sound, just that kind of like random sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Roland Howard's playing the super clean, loud stuff, and in the background, Nick Harvey's playing the fuzz guitar. And their drummer for this, and for the first couple records, was the drummer for the Psychedelic Furs, which is fucking bizarre. It was like Phil Calvert.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Um,
he joined them for like a year after he left the birthday party. I think it was like 82 to 83. He was with them.
Oh, did he join the Furs after that? I thought he was.
Yeah.
before
Yeah, I
that.
think it was after. I think I read. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but and only for like a year. Like so, like Psychedelic Furs is a band that I'm not really too familiar with either.
Yeah.
I definitely have to dive into them at some point. But that's what I remember reading for the research for tonight. So this song, like, we didn't get into any of the words really, but it's again, dark content. I think this is the song about a priest that murders or rapes underage girls. Is that correct?
Um, I don't know what it's about. It's like,
Yeah. In the liner notes, do they have the lyrics on there?
yeah, there's
Oh,
a
okay.
line here. Mr. Evangelist said she's hit.
Yeah, yeah.
Best cookie you ever had. You can't blame the good woman now, Dad. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not clear what it's about, like, really.
Right.
Except, like, yeah, that he was definitely. So, a woman has died. And it goes, she's hit. Every
Right.
single little bit, she's hit.
Yeah. So, speaking about the topic of this song, whether we have it or not, I'm not sure. Um, I assume that you share some feministic ideals. So, like, do you consider yourself a feminist?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So then, how does this song or any song dealing with the mistreatment of women land with you?
Well, I wasn't seeing it through that lens, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I know this is a topic that Nick Cave actually was confronted with. He has this really great website that's designated to
yeah,
his fans that ask him questions.
yeah,
Oh, you know it? Okay.
yeah,
So I found someone that had written to him and asked him basically about that, kind of considering the current climate with the whole Me Too movement and things of that nature. And he was very, like, just so gracious about responding to them in a way. And so basically, he is a supporter of women in general. Um, there is, I guess there's some kind of like thing about the persona that a musician, kind of encapsulates, right?
mhm,
So, he understands that, some of the lyrical content of some of the material he's written throughout his career can seem a little heinous and kind of like derogatory towards women and the treatment of them. But I can't remember what he said, what he, his answer for that question, though, as far as like what he thinks about it now. I guess he's more mindful of the way he words things now, basically.
right. I mean, there was a lot of like, it was kind of like just true crimey, murdery stuff, which was around a lot then. I mean, there's a lot of crazy shit going on, and it was like,
Yeah.
I didn't think of him like, oh, this is a bad guy. Like he was being the protagonist in the role. I think he
Right.
was like, describing a lot of creepy situations, and there were a lot of creepy situations going on then.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that he finds inspiration in some of the weird and macabre things.
Yeah,
You
that's
know, like I'm not sure exactly like what he's into as far as what he reads and what he listens to. But yeah, I think he's definitely like a dark person when it comes to his own writing.
right.
Um, but so even aside from the birthday party and Nick Cave, I mean, like, do you, like, I'm sure that there are other songs, there's music like that, or even if you think about learning the history of a person, like if you think about the R. Kellys of this world or the Chuck Berrys and stuff like that, like where you find out things about them that are like kind of like you know really derogatory and just kind of like menacing to learn about.
Right.
Um, does that affect the way that you listen to music or if you like it?
I would draw a line, a very sharp line
Yeah.
between R. Kelly and Chuck Berry and Richard Lloyd from television, for instance.
Mm.
Between that and Nick Cave, because Nick Cave was expressing a poem, a work of fiction, whatever. And I
Okay.
think it's really, really, really different than someone who is actually violating me.
Yeah.
Completely different,
Right.
And I've met Nick Cave a number of times, and he's a very gentle and very gracious man. So I think like that's a huge line you got to cross, and I've learned in my experience, it's often the people that have the poppiest and nicest sort of lyrics and la 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 stuff that are the most fucked up. You know,
Yeah.
and really fucked up. You know, people that are writing really fucked up stuff are generally really nice and really cool and gentle people. So I mean, the fact that Nick Cave is like writing about this murder scene does not in any way to me implicate him
Right.
in
Okay.
anything, any kind of violence against women or anything like that.
Right.
But you know, especially like the way he did it. But you know, but then I do have a lot of problems listening to people who I know that they have like abused women and like you know it comes out that you know like oh that they've been accused that they've raped women and stuff like that. Yeah, that bothers me a lot, and it definitely affects the way I think about their music. You know, but I'm not
Yeah.
like this person wrote a dark song, therefore he's a bad person. I don't think that. You know?
Right. Okay. Now, I didn't realize that you had met Nick Cave on a couple of occasions. I was actually thinking about this, and I didn't know when I was gonna bring this up. But so, with the with your history and being in the band Come, and how well that band was received amongst so many people that went on to become very influential people, I was wondering if you knew if you had either met Nick Cave or anyone in the birthday party, and if you knew whether or not they were familiar with your music and were fans or not.
I've definitely met people in the birthday party, and like my old band, Dangerous Birds, opened up for them in the '80s.
Oh wow.
Like you know, I was a huge fan. I was just like ah, and I remember Roland Howard borrowed my Fender Twin, and it really sucked. It was their first show in the United States, actually. Like,
Oh.
this amp sucks, which it did. And, you know, so I met Nick Cave in the birthday party, and then I met him on the first tour after his solo record, the first one from Her to Eternity. So I was working at Newbury Comics with this British woman, Danuta, who was friends with Barry Adamson, who had played on the record and was on the first tour.
Okay.
We went to see the Boston show, and she got backstage because she grew up basically with Barry, and I made this huge thing for Nick Cave, and it was this huge thing I wrote based on one of the songs on the record called "Box for Black Paul," and it was like this huge thing, and I just remember he was so gracious. I can't imagine him just giving this thing, and it was like in a box, and it was like a fucking scroll, like thank you so much, and like I put it somewhere special, and I don't know. That was the first time I met him, and then later, Come played with Dirty Three a lot when they first came over to the States, which Warren Ellis is now like one of his main guys. So,
Hmm.
so we actually opened up for the Bad Seeds, I think once or maybe twice. So I met him again then.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, Come did open up for them. So yeah, and he was always he's a super he's a real gentleman. Yeah, really
Cool.
really nice guy. And I don't know, just like if you talk to him, like he looks you in the eye, he's just very present and very
Yeah.
respectful, and you know.
Oh, cool. Well, that's nice to know. I mean, from what I've read about him, he seems that way. So it's nice to.
It's like red hand files every once in a while. I'll read it, and he really gives thought, right, to people write in. He's like, you could tell that he really thought about what they asked him, and he put a lot of thought into, you know, what he.
Yeah. And just the fact that he responds to these, the fact that he's created a forum for his fans to reach out to him directly, and where he'll respond is pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh. Cool. All right, well, let's move on. Let's move on to Dead Joe. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, think this is 1982.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Like, this blew my mind. You know?
Yeah. Was there anything, like, can you think of anything that was similar to this style of music that you were listening to at the time?
No, nothing.
No. Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
It was nothing. It was like this weird, like I was like, this is jazz. This is like this weird, like that's the only thing I could kind of like, it's like it was really no, it was completely different from everything else that was going on.
Yeah.
You know, punk rock was basically based on rock and roll. Like sort of the 1-4-5 thing, and it was like speeded up rock and roll, and new wave was a little different with like effects and stuff, but still pretty sticking to a template
Mm-hmm.
completely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like it.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I think in reality, with you having mentioned that, I'm like, the songs structurally are not that far off from like kind of your traditional rock music. It's just the intensity that in which that they played with, I think, and some of the sound, like some of the ways that they got the sounds of those instruments, like that bass and like those drums,
Yeah,
that really kind of made it this just alternate, like parallel world to rock music.
yeah.
Yeah, so good.
And the leap that they made was kind of like from basically a new wave band called the Boys Next Door.
Right.
How they got from that to this is actually really mind blowing too. Because
Yeah. I have to listen to that stuff. I mean, I kind of heard a little bit of it, like doing the research, but it didn't seem like the same band.
no, they got more and more sort of avant garde, like in the song "Mr. Clarinet." It's kind of like sing songy. And then they just went totally feral. It was just like crazy. Like
Right.
yeah.
All right. So Dead Joe, seemingly cut and dry depiction of a Joe mangled in a car accident, I
Right.
think, right? So there's something oddly satisfying about something gruesome such as a car crash, which is why we can't turn away from one.
Right.
Do you find some joy in some grotesque things of more of a literary or visual nature?
No, I don't. And to tell you the truth, when you're like, we can't turn away from car crashes, I can't look at car crashes.
Oh yeah.
I'm really fucking squeamish about that kind of stuff. So I don't find it titillating at all. I don't really watch horror movies.
Oh okay.
But there's one line like in this song. It's just like the irony in the way it's double entendre when he says you can't tell the girls from the boys anymore. Like that's something you used to hear like older people say, like guys have long hair and girls have short hair, and it was kind of like there's just like a lot of different levels to kind of like what was going on there.
Hmm. I don't know. Is this true? Like, I was trying to kind of like juxtapose your lyrics and some of Nick Cave's lyrics, and I was wondering if there's a similarity there or not. I don't.
I don't think so at all because like he always wrote like from a character's standpoint,
Yeah.
and I always write from a first person standpoint, even if it's not about me. So that's pretty different. Yeah, like he
Yeah.
creates these characters, and then you follow the characters and what happens to them, and yeah, and I think we're very, very different lyricists.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to Dim Locator. Considering I am so happy that you chose this record. It's so powerful. It's just like, man, it just like really hits me now that I'm in my older age.
Well, it's like jazzy, right? Like it's like jazz, basically. This is jazz.
Yeah. It's got like a groove to it.
It's got like the way the guitars coming out, bow, 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 bow. Like
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, it and like reading about this song and how Rel and Howard wrote this song, it made me want to listen to some of his solo work, but I haven't been able to find yet. So I might do that at some point because yeah, the guitars. I mean, it's just the way they sound, the style of his playing. It's just
yeah.
it's wild. I'd love to hear some more of it actually at this point. So Dim Locator, I don't really have anything for this song, except that it kind of makes me think of a Demented of Mice or Men or a Sling Blade type character.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at the lyrics like today, and I was like, wow, this is really kind of word salad. Like
Yeah,
literally, like
right.
like kind of like tongue twisting words and everything kind of brings up images. But
Yeah, this song specifically, I mean, like I pulled the lyrics off of some website that some lyric website, and it's like he even like makes up his own words in this. Like the first word is inanimational.
yeah,
Inanimational items elude eye.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's just wild. I don't know. Maybe that's part of the character. Maybe that's the character. This this dim character.
Die and in an emotional motion I swallow my motive of quicker location is slammed. My dim chance of skipping this thick world is thin. It's
Hmm.
like just it's wordplay. Like
Yeah.
it's like wordplay. Intrigonometry, intrigonometry,
Yeah.
intrigonometry.
Intrigonometry. I know. So weird.
Gang of ghost types.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of just a lot of like wordplay and yeah,
Hmm.
interesting. Sort of it's interesting to me. It's very
Oh
different.
yeah.
From like
Right. So where do you think like do you think that there's any kind of like direct influence from this record or even this band, let's just say, to anything that you've created over your career?
oh god, yes. I mean, I've been trying to like emulate, like definitely like Roland Howard, sort of like the fuzz guitar, the the way of playing the sort of like sort of like dissonant stuff. Definitely was really influential. I used to use it a lot and like still kind of use it in
Mm-hmm.
um his way of playing. Like he didn't really play full chords. He played a lot of like triads and sort of discordant stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, really really influential on my guitar playing.
Yeah. There's no song in particular you can think of that you're like like maybe I pulled a little too much from him on this one.
Um, there's a couple of riffs. I think in Dim Locator, that's sort of like actually I have a guitar. So, um, man, he did a lot of sort of like, you know,
Oh yeah.
so yeah.
Oh yeah. Hmm. Do you do a different tuning or is that standard tuning?
No, standard tuning.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so just kind of definitely like stuff like that. I do a lot of that sort of.
I see. Okay. Wow, cool. All right. Well,
I mean, I don't say I can rip off Roland Howard, but he was a really big influence
oh
on.
yeah. No, I wouldn't say ripping off either. I mean,
I mean, I try not to rip him off, but I pay tribute to him.
there you go. There they go. So, in closing, the birthday party is one of history's most destructive and violent bands of all time. Would you agree with that statement?
No,
Okay, because you got to see them. I never saw them play aside, from like videos.
I wouldn't agree with that. I think there's way more destructive and violent bands.
Okay.
Like G.G. Allen, for instance, like numerous sort of hardcore bands, you know, yeah,
Okay. Huh. Okay. Because so from the research that I did, that's kind of like what I came up with because it seemed like they had a very chaotic time, especially during like the release of this record and the subsequent tour until ultimately their demise, which only came like a year or so after this was released. Now, maybe their drug use and alcohol abuse had something to do with that kind of chaotic time, but there was like just these very confrontational shows, I guess,
yeah.
which mostly happened in Europe. I don't know what it was like in the U.S. Or if they did some U.S. shows, yeah. Um, But you just hear about these things that would happen, and it just sounded like chaos. It sounded like a very kind of like you never knew what was going to happen, and violence could erupt at any moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
No,
But
okay. What
absolutely.
what what was it like when you saw them, and when did you see them?
I saw them. So my band, Dangerous Birds, opened for them in probably '83 or something, and I think that was the only time they came played in the States.
Hmm.
Boston was their first show, and they didn't play Boston, New York, and maybe like a few other shows in the States. It was I don't think it was a big tour.
Hmm. Weird. That's when after this album came out, and it's near the end of their
Yeah,
existence.
yeah.
Okay.
I remember this coming out. I remember like the two EPs, Mutiny in Heaven and the Bad Seed EP, coming out like almost at the same time, like within like a year. So they released
Okay.
this came out first, and then I remember the next thing as being the two EPs.
Yeah. Weird. Okay. Well, so I don't know. I'm sorry. That was my impression. That's like what I kind of gathered from the reading that I did. Um, so that kind of changes my question for you a little bit. Because I went on to write that you can even hear it in the recorded document. In the music, you can kind of hear how chaotic it became.
Yeah.
Um, so the question I had for you was, did you ever aspire for, avoid, or welcome chaos through music?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I figured you might, but what were the situations for that? Like, how chaotic did it get for you?
I mean, I think just I mean, I think a lot of musicians, you know, try to achieve sort of transcendence through music. And
Yeah.
in a way that's kind of like leaving your body, maybe kind of where you are and going to a different state where kind of like anything can happen. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a form of chaos, in a way.
Okay.
You know, in any kind of improvisation, like in the stuff that TK does and stuff like that, you're kind of leaving yourself open to anything and doing. You don't know where anything's going to take you. So,
Right. Do you find that those sets with TK, like when you would play live, obviously you haven't in a while now, but is that more of like an improvised set?
yeah, it's totally. I mean, what me and and Kaplow are doing is totally improvised. Bill Milstein has sort of like a template of sort of like found sounds and like tracks and stuff he's manipulating,
Mm-hmm.
and not ever the exact same way twice, but his part is more kind of like there, and we're kind of reacting to it, but
Right.
never the same way twice. Like there's no parts or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that's certainly chaotic in a way, and it's unnerving as a performer because you never know what you're gonna do.
Right,
Right. I mean, because like you can rehearse the hell out of a song like with any of your other bands, and you can know that you're gonna nail it that night.
right. And this is
And
more than hit or miss. It could be great. It could
right.
flat on your face. Yeah.
Right. Have you fallen flat on your face at any point?
Definitely, yeah. To me, anyway. I mean, usually with me, it's like a little bit more like I play with a lot of different instruments, and I have a clarinet, and I have different stuff going on, and you know, it's like usually like a technical thing. Like the times that my volume pedal broke were like the worst times. I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but just to me, I was just like,
Right.
ah, you know, can't do this thing and that thing and all these things I want to do, but um,
I see. Well, so aside from TK, is there any other band one of your other projects where you things have fallen flat?
oh yeah, like I've totally gone on TZ band tours or even solo tours where I've completely lost my voice.
Oh, that's
It
horrible.
sucks. Yeah, it's really rough when you're playing solo too. That's like the worst.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine because you're the only one up there. You're the only.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what would you do in that situation? Just
Well, you can't really do anything. I mean,
power through it.
cancel, so you just kind of power through it. And, you know, people are usually kind of understanding, but it's happened a few times, so to the point where like, oh, you lost your voice the last time, and you don't have a voice again. Like it's happened to me a couple times. So it's weird. Like I think I'm definitely going to start. One thing I've learned from COVID is that wearing a mask and not get. I would always get sick when I traveled, and I think from now on, I'm always going to wear a mask on an airplane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it made such a difference. But yeah, I was like just one of those people who would like every time I travel, I get sick. It really sucked.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and like with your career being as long as it's been, and being the singer in almost every situation, have you never taken any vocal classes or like any lessons to kind of learn how to preserve your voice under any circumstance? Like,
I took a few lessons early on because I was losing my voice a lot just from singing wrong, and I went to a vocal teacher like for not for very long, but maybe for a couple of months, and they kind of taught me, just basically how to use my diaphragm, how to breathe, like stuff that I still actually will fall back on when I need to. So,
right.
a few things, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, can I just say it's been a pleasure meeting you and talking with you.
Yeah, you too. It's really nice to meet you, and thank you
Yeah.
for and for all the research that you did. And
Oh, no problem. It's been my pleasure. I mean, this is a lot of fun for me, and like I just that's all I hope to try to convey is kind of like get you to have some fun with it too, and
yeah,
whoever
definitely.
I speak with, and I appreciate Dan putting us in touch because you've actually been someone I've been meaning to reach out to for a while. So
Yeah, well, he spoke very highly of you. And said, you should do this. And I was like, yeah, it sounds great. So,
cool.
yeah, I'm glad I did when I met you.
Yeah, and I hope to see you out in the real world sometime very soon.
Me too.
Any tour plans, by the way, like
Um,
coming?
I'm working on stuff. I do have some shows coming up. Nothing in your neck of the woods. I've got something in New Hampshire in June. He's playing in New Hampshire actually in June. He's coming Stanford from Neptune. He's
Yep.
third of E is he lives in Boulder now, but he's coming for the month of June, and we're gonna do some recording and do a show, and then TZ Band's got some stuff coming up because we got the new record coming out, so we're playing at the Midway in July, and also in New Hampshire in August, and Kingston, New York in September. It's really weird, like booking stuff right now. Like I'm trying to do it, but I mean, so much is changing so fast. Like
Right.
things have been closed, and now they're just opening. So yeah, it's been a little difficult. It's not the normal. Nothing's normal about booking shows. It's really weird right now to book shows, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely that's what I'm trying to do because I have a lot of records that are coming out. Some of them old, some of them new. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wish you the best.
thanks.
I hope they all happen, and I hope they're all great.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
Yeah,
a lot.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. It's been my honor.